All right, so March 17th, 2025. Feels like every time we turn around, there's some new development in AI, right?
Seriously, it's nonstop.
Like, it's not just one company or one country.
Yeah.
It's everywhere.
Yeah.
All pushing forward, kind of figuring out what this whole AI thing can actually do.
Yeah. You've got big players, smaller startups, governments, research labs. It's all happening at once.
And that's what makes this batch of sources we've got for today so interesting. It's a real snapshot of right now, you know? Like, we're seeing some pretty concrete examples of AI making people way more productive, which is huge, but also some bumps in the road, you know, those hiccups where the tech isn't quite there yet. And then there's the whole strategic game, the positioning. Who's going to come out on top?
And that's exactly what we're going to unpack in this deep dive. We're going to sift through it all, figure out what's hype, what's real, and ultimately what actually matters for you, the listener trying to keep up with this crazy, fast-moving field.
So let's kick things off in the UK. Seems like they're really leaning into AI for a productivity boost. Mark Reed, the CEO of WPP, was over at Google's DeepMind recently.
Yeah, I saw that.
And he dropped some pretty mind-blowing numbers. Said 40% of WPP employees are now using Gemini.
40%? Wow. That's massive.
Right. Like, for a company that big, that's a fundamental shift.
Yeah.
I mean, WPP, for anyone who doesn't know, they're a giant in the advertising and communications world. So they're not just playing around with AI, it's become part of their core operations. Makes you wonder what kind of training they're doing, what new skills their people are picking up to make the most of these tools.
Totally. And it's not just theoretical either. They reported 280 hours of video content produced using AI just this past month. That's a serious amount of output.
It is. And then you look at their investment. £300 million annually into machine learning and Stability AI. That's a serious commitment. Stability AI, they're big in the whole generative AI space, especially images and video. So it seems like WPP is betting big on creating with AI.
Makes sense. That's got to be a huge part of their future.
Then you've got Allison Kirkby, the CEO of BT, talking about nearly 50,000 of their employees using AI. And it's for everything, from optimizing operations planes.
Which probably means a lot of different things for a company like BT.
Yeah, exactly. Streamlining processes, I guess, making things more efficient behind the scenes. But then there's also blocking scams, improving customer service, even enhancing their 5G network.
That's smart. They're tackling some of the biggest pain points people have with telecoms head on.
And don't forget software development. They're using AI for that too. It's like AI is woven into every part of their infrastructure.
It sounds like it. Really shows how this goes way beyond just the shiny new AI models everyone talks about. Optimizing operations might not be super exciting, but it can make a huge difference for a company that size. And for the average person, better scam blocking and customer service, those are real benefits you feel every day.
Absolutely. And then, to top it all off in the UK, you've got Demis Hassabis, the co-founder of DeepMind, predicting we'll see AI systems that can reason like humans within the next 5 to 10 years.
Wow, that's a bold statement. But coming from DeepMind, I mean, they've got the track record.
Right. They've been behind some of the biggest AI breakthroughs, like AlphaGo. So it's not just some random prediction. It kind of puts all this current activity into perspective. We're laying the groundwork for something much bigger.
Totally. It's not just about today's tools. It's about where this is all heading.
Speaking of today's tools, let's talk Apple. They're usually known for their slick, flawless tech.
Right.
But it seems like they're hitting some snags with their AI development.
Yeah.
Robbie Walker, head of their Siri team, admitted there have been delays and bugs with their new AI-powered Siri.
That's surprising. They're usually so good at keeping things under wraps.
I know, right?
Yeah.
It really shows that even a company with Apple's resources and experience, they can still run into unexpected challenges with this stuff.
It's a complex technology. It's not easy to get right.
Yeah. So their initial plan for a spring release, out the window. Pushed back to next year at the earliest.
Oh, wow.
And get this, some of the new AI features were apparently giving wrong answers like a third of the time.
That's not good. Not the Apple standard we're used to.
Not at all. It really highlights how important testing and refinement are before you unleash this stuff on a massive user base, especially when you've got the kind of expectations people have for Apple products.
Absolutely. Reliability is everything.
Walker did say they're going to hold off on releasing anything until it's truly ready, which, seems sensible.
Yeah, better to be safe than sorry, especially with a reputation like theirs.
Interestingly, though, Apple's stock hasn't been hit too hard. There was a slight dip, but it seems more tied to the overall market trends.
Yeah.
And no executive shakeups planned in the AI division.
So they're taking the long view, even with these setbacks.
Seems like it. Maybe they're betting on a slow and steady approach, really focusing on quality over rushing something out the door.
It's the Apple way, isn't it? They tend to be more deliberate with new tech.
Right. They like to take their time and really integrate things properly.
Makes sense.
Now, circling back to the UK, it's clear they're aiming to be a major player in the global AI scene.
Oh yeah, they're not messing around.
Demis Hassabis is pushing hard for them to use their strengths, like their world-class universities and their huge pool of talented people, to really shape how AI is adopted and, importantly, regulated worldwide.
That's key. It's not just about developing the tech, it's about setting the rules of the game.
Exactly. And he's specifically advocating for international standards on AI copyright, which is a whole other can of worms.
Oh, absolutely. That's a tough one. I mean, as AI gets better at creating, things get really murky legally. What's ownership? What's fair use? It's a mess.
A big mess.
Yeah.
And Prime Minister Keir Starmer just talked about a new tech-focused economic deal with the U.S., which hints at maybe some collaboration on the AI front.
Interesting. Sounds like they're trying to form a united front.
And then you've got Oracle putting a whopping $5 billion into the UK over the next 5 years, specifically for AI innovation and their cloud services. That's a huge vote of confidence.
It is. They're putting their money where their mouth is. Clearly, they see the UK as a fertile ground for AI growth. The talent, the government support, it's all there.
Right. Okay, let's jump over to China for a minute. Baidu just unveiled a new AI reasoning model called Ernie X1.
Ernie X1.
Yeah. And what's interesting is they're saying it's got similar capabilities to DeepSeek R1, but at half the cost.
Whoa, hold on. Half the cost. That could be a game changer.
Right. It's all about accessibility.
Yeah.
If you can get similar performance at a fraction of the price, that opens up AI to a lot more people and companies.
Totally. Especially in price-sensitive markets.
Yeah. Just to clarify, when we talk about reasoning models, we're talking about AI that can do more than just process information. It can actually make inferences, solve problems. It's a step closer to that human-like thinking everyone's talking about.
Gotcha. So it's not just pattern recognition, it's taking that next step.
Exactly. Anyway, the market seems to like what they're hearing. Baidu's stock jumped almost 2% after the announcement. The model can supposedly do AI image generation, interpret code, handle complex calculations, all the good stuff.
Sounds impressive. I wonder how it stacks up against the competition in real-world scenarios, though.
Yeah, that's the real test. They also announced an update to their existing Ernie 4.5 model, so they're clearly pushing hard on this front. Interestingly, though, while Baidu stock is up around 11% this year, they're not quite keeping pace with some of their Chinese rivals, like Alibaba and Tencent.
Yeah, it's a competitive landscape over there. Everyone's trying to carve out their niche in the AI space.
It's a race to the top.
Mm.
Now let's shift gears to the hardware side of things. Intel is about to undergo a pretty big shakeup under their incoming CEO, Lip-Bu Tan.
Oh yeah, hadn't heard about this.
Big focus on streamlining operations, cutting staff, all about becoming more competitive, especially in the AI chip market, which is, exploding right now.
Smart move. They need to be lean and mean to keep up with the likes of NVIDIA.
Exactly. And they're getting pretty aggressive, optimizing their manufacturing for AI chips, even for clients like NVIDIA.
Really? That's interesting. Producing chips for your competitor.
Yeah, it's kind of the sign of the times. Intel's got to be flexible.
Mm.
They're also cutting middle management to speed up decision-making, and they're looking at further staff reductions beyond what they already did last August.
Sounds like a major overhaul.
It is. Tan's also got his sights set on attracting new customers to Intel Foundry, their chip-making business. Plus, they want to produce their own AI server chips, and they're pushing hard in software and robotics, too.
So not putting all their eggs in one basket.
Definitely not. They've even set a target of 2027 for the production of their new AI chips. And Tan's been really emphasizing this idea of a more proactive, resilient company culture, which, given the competition from AMD, TSMC, Samsung, they've got to be ready for anything.
No room for complacency in this market.
Absolutely not. Now, all eyes are on NVIDIA as they get ready for their big GPU technology conference, GTC.
Always a big event.
Yeah, but this year it's even more interesting because there's been some investor jitters lately. Their share price dipped 11% recently.
I wonder what's behind that.
It seems to be a mix of things. You've got the growing competition from companies like DeepSeek, and there are concerns about whether all this data center building is sustainable. Like, what if there's just too much capacity?
Right. What if we hit peak data center?
Exactly. So Everyone's going to be glued to CEO Jensen Huang's presentations, especially anything about their Blackwell platform and their future plans for the Rubin platform.
Those are the big guns, right? The hardware that's powering a lot of the AI boom.
Right. So investors will be listening for any clues about AI, robotics, supply chain stability, even the impact of tariffs on data center investments. It's a lot to unpack.
High stakes. They need to reassure the market that they're still the leader.
Big time. And to their credit, NVIDIA hasn't lost their confidence. They're saying demand for their Blackwell systems is still strong.
Well, that's a good sign. It's like a tug of war between market uncertainty and the company's own belief in their future.
Exactly. Okay, before we wrap up, let's touch on a few other AI developments. Zoom just announced they're adding new AI agentic skills to their AI companion across their whole platform. So even our meetings are getting more AI powered.
Makes sense. AI is creeping into everything we do these days.
It is. And then we've got all these different regulatory proposals coming from American AI companies. Everyone's trying to figure out how to regulate this rapidly evolving tech while also, staying ahead of China.
That's the balance, isn't it? Innovation versus control, and then there's the whole geopolitical angle. It's a mess.
A big, complicated mess.
Ah,
Finally, Samsung just unveiled their new AI-first user interface, One UI 7. The promise is a more intuitive, personalized mobile experience.
so AI is getting more and more integrated into the devices we use every day.
Seamlessly, they hope. The beta program kicked off in Germany late last year, and the stable release for the Galaxy S25 happened back in January. Wider rollout is expected next month. Okay, so as we come to the end of this deep dive, what are the big takeaways here? It feels like we're seeing huge progress across a ton of different areas.
Absolutely. And the competition is fierce, not just between companies, but between entire countries.
Right. It's a global race. But
Hmm.
then there are these challenges, these reminders that the tech isn't perfect yet.
Yeah, there are still hurdles to overcome, and everyone's scrambling to position themselves for the future. This snapshot, March 17th, 2025, it's just a glimpse of a field that's constantly changing.
So true. We're just at the beginning.
Hmm.
And that's what makes it so exciting and maybe a little scary too, right?
Definitely a bit of both.
So I'm curious, thinking about everything we've discussed, from WPP going all in on Gemini to Apple's Siri struggles to Baidu's push for affordability, Intel's big reset, and NVIDIA facing down the market. What do you think is going to be the biggest surprise in AI over the next year? The unexpected breakthrough? Or maybe the unforeseen challenge?
Ooh, that's a tough one. There's so many possibilities.
I know, right? But that's what makes it all so fascinating. And that's what we'll be here to explore week after week, trying to make sense of it all. So thanks for joining us for this deep dive, and we'll see you next time.